News Radio, KMAN, weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, a light rain, 72 degrees, and a little bit of wind, just 6 miles per hour out of the south. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly before 11 in the evening. Some of these storms could produce heavy rainfall, that chance at 60%. Overnight low of 64. Another small chance for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. After that, a gradual clearing of those clouds and a high near 83. On the 19th, sunny and a high near 90 with a calm wind becoming south around 5 miles per hour in the afternoon. We're getting set for the game next on News Radio KMAN.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
After an unexpected day off of yesterday's show, we're back with you. We are live. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday and welcome to The Game. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf. We're with you for a couple of hours today. Royals baseball have pregame coverage at 6:30 and first pitch at 7:10. Royals and the Texas Rangers. Can the Royals get things back under control? Losing some games lately. 6-game losing streak, the second longest losing streak in baseball right now. As a matter of fact, I think entering yesterday's game, every team in the American League Central had at least a 2-game losing streak.
This is correct. Not looking great. After a really good start in the AL Central, it's kind of unfolding for everyone at the same time.
At one point, the Royals were playing as the best team in baseball, and now they're playing as the worst team in baseball.
It's been really bad.
Yeah, and typically, when you've already hit both ends of either success or just terribleness, it typically means it's always going to lean the rest of the way. Not great. But there's still plenty of time. But Jabroni of the Week coming up at 4:40 later on in this hour. We'll also talk about K-State football continuing to roll, catching that fire for the 2026 recruiting class. They added, well, ever since our last show, 4 players to the 2026 class. And they're all pretty good kids. Pretty good kids, including a running back today with just stats from this past season through the roof. Huge.
Eye-popping.
Rushing numbers. Coming up in hour number 2, another K-State projection that the Wildcats will win the Big 12 championship in football. K-State Classics with Cole coming up at 5:25. It is the 2011 Miami game. This will actually be our third game as we've randomly drawn for these games that Cole watches for the first time. And it's his third 2011 game, but we've been working backwards.
It's reverse order every time. Starting with A&M and then Baylor and now Miami.
And now, yeah, that week 3 game against the Miami Hurricanes
a
down
hot
there
one.
in South Beach. Yes, it was.
A little bit different than the last game against Nebraska in 2000 when the real field was 17. This one was like 90 at the beginning of the game.
And this was on the road. K-State 2-0 start. Miami coming off a win over Ohio State at that time.
Pretty dominant win over Ohio State.
So, and you've watched the game. Mm-hmm. You're ready to go. Cole's watching these K-State Classics for the first time, and we'll get his reaction coming up in hour number 2. Plus a retirement of a legend in Kansas City. That was announced earlier today. Phone lines and text lines are open, 785-537-1350. Phone lines and text lines, again, it's the same number for both, 785-537-1350. We got a big event coming up on Friday as we find out who is going to win the all-expenses-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Like you listen to our stations, you've been hearing about this for months, and Friday's the day. We have all of our finalists, and it's going to be at Briggs Auto Lane. That's where the event's going to take place this Friday from 3 to 6. Somebody is winning an all-expenses-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Now, if you're not a finalist for this, there's still plenty of prizes to win at this event, and you don't have to be a finalist to win these prizes. I can't tell you what they are yet, but there's going to be food trucks out there, treat trucks, bunch of trucks out there at Briggs Auto Line. Again, that's from 3 to 6 p.m. Also, Passport to Cabo brought to you by USOP Phillips 66 and the Friendship House. If you're a finalist and you've not filled out your paperwork yet, first of all, you got to be at the event to win, but also you got to take care of a little bit of paperwork. Make sure to come by 2414 Casement Road, get all that filled out before the final day, Friday, 3 to 6, Briggs Auto Lane, who is going to win Passport to Cabo. All right, we'll get to the sports here in just a moment, but first I want to address maybe regionally the biggest story of the weekend. Now, I am obviously a big sports guy, but what's also near and dear to my heart, very important to me, is music. And I love concerts. In this next month, Lindsay and I think we're scheduled to go. We've bought tickets for 3 or 4 concerts coming up. It's a very big summer activity with our time off. Like to get out, try to see bands we haven't seen yet. We're going to be going to Kansas City and Texas later on in July. We're going up to Omaha a couple of days after the 4th of July for a concert. One of the biggest stories of the region, and a bigger reason I bring this up because I know a lot of people around here ended up going to this show in Branson, Missouri, and it was taking place at Thunder Ridge Nature Arena. Outdoor venue. It's owned by the guy that owns the Bass Pro Shops. Really, that whole area is basically owned by the Bass Pro Shop guy. And it's his theater, his amphitheater, I should call it, and Post Malone and Jelly Roll we're performing at this concert. Well, this particular venue has had a pretty bad history of traffic jams. People trying to get into this venue and struggling to get in, standstill traffic, some not even getting into the venue. They had a concert that gained like national attention because of the bad traffic jams when Garth Brooks played in Branson 3 years ago. Well, now fast forward to this past weekend, Jelly Roll, Post Malone playing. I knew a ton of people that actually going to this. I didn't even know this concert was a thing, but apparently it's the closest they're going to be to Manhattan. So a ton of people from around here went down to Branson. What was that, 5 hours or so from here?
Yep, 5 hours.
Down to Branson. And apparently it was, and this would just be horrible. I can't imagine it being this bad, but somehow it was. That people waited nearly 5 hours in traffic and still did not get into the concert.
Brutal.
And I know you're probably thinking, if this is the first time you're hearing of this, how is that even possible? So I'm opening up by just giving everybody a warning because it is concert season. A bunch of us, I'm sure, are planning a concert or two this summer. Beware of outdoor concert venues. They can be real hit and miss. Unfortunately, Thunder Ridge Nature Arena has the reputation and is high on the list as one of the worst outdoor venues in America. And unfortunately, there were those that just were not familiar with this place, considered it it's a concert venue. Things should be under control. We're going to go. And I saw too many reports of, well, we left at this time. We were hoping to get to the venue at this time. Nope, we were stuck in traffic for 4.5, 5 hours. Sometimes some were saying 6 hours and never got in because of traffic. So a couple of things come to mind about this. So Azura Amphitheater is the outdoor venue in Bonner Springs. Well, a lot like other venues, these venues typically can end up in like kind of rural areas where the roads really aren't built, designed, or even around this venue for high traffic. So that can be a problem. And the other typical problem is the venue did not hire or assign enough people to work the event to keep the traffic flowing at a good pace. And I think the Thunder Ridge place has a major issue with both of those. Number 3 is these outdoor venues will oversell on the tickets because they have a general admission lawn area. Not all of them, but I know for a fact Thunder Ridge does this, but I'm not sure about Azura Amphitheater. They will oversell on the GA tickets, so they'll oversell on the tickets. They're planning for not everybody to get in. It's a complete greed move, where if you're not buying the insurance on the tickets, you're screwed. Look, you got plenty of warnings. We said, hey, we put on Facebook, hey, look, there's going to be a lot of traffic. Get here early. If you don't get here early, you snooze, you lose, which I think is a horrible way to go about this, but it is, unfortunately, a common thing that these outdoor venues do. I think the Starlight Theater in Kansas City is a phenomenal venue. I've never really seen any issues whatsoever for that place. Azura Amphitheater has a problem with pre-concert traffic. Post can be a little bit rough as well, but especially if you're not getting there early. Foo Fighters a couple of years ago was a bad example, or an example of a bad traffic situation where there was nobody directing traffic. It was a free-for-all. It was a mess, and they did not have enough parking for the tickets that they sold. They tried to delay, but still, there were some people that didn't get in until the Foo Fighters were already playing, and they were stuck in traffic for 90 minutes plus. That should never happen. That is bad organization. Some venues do not organize the pre-traffic layout scenarios, people in place to direct traffic like cops. They'll try to avoid costs and not have a police presence to direct traffic, and that creates a lot of issues. But this place at Thunder Ridge down by Branson, it's a absolute horrible setup. If you Google map it, it's a mess.
Have you been?
I've been by it. I've driven around that area, and you have tourists, you do have locals, but just the parking and the entranceway, it's not much. Like the parking, if you get there late, you're probably walking over a mile to get into the venue. So there's my warning for everybody out there that I'm a pretty experienced concert goer. Like arenas have a very good setup. And here's an issue I have with the Chiefs. And I think this is the way that the Chiefs have found ways to cut costs is with security and the equipment they use to funnel people into the stadium. It is not in an orderly fashion. It is not at a good pace. It is one of the worst. Arrowhead Stadium is for Chiefs games is one of the worst setups I've ever seen in sports, in entertainment, for any event to get in and keep the flow going. Last Chiefs game I went to, got in line to get in the game with about an hour and 10 minutes before kickoff, and we missed kickoff. That should never happen. But the way they do things is they want every bag checked, the metal detectors, the gates you go through, it doesn't detect much. So everybody has to empty their pockets. You bring a bag in, it's got to be searched, and it doesn't keep things moving. So I think the outdoor venues, though, they cut the most corners because, remember, their window of actually having shows is pretty small, especially around here. 6 months out of the year, the weather isn't typically good enough. It could be too cold, and artists don't want to have to play outside if it's too cold. It's not like Houston. I mean, don't get me started on Astrofest and Travis Barker or Travis Scott and that whole debacle. But outdoor venues know that they only have a certain amount of time to go make their cash, so they're going to try to limit their costs. And sometimes that's going to have to do with things that happen before and after the show that you're going to have to sacrifice half of your day to either get in or get out of this concert. So please do your research before you go to any of these shows at outdoor venues. They're all different. They have different setups. Some are great. I've never been to, what's the Red Rocks in Colorado? Apparently that's the best place to ever see a concert. I'd say Azura Amphitheater is a B-. It can be really good, but I think they do oversell their tickets. I've only had a couple of issues there. The place in Branson, I think is, and I've heard enough stories now, that it's probably the worst music venue in the United States.
Well, especially, I mean, you're considering the draws that Post Malone and Jelly Roll are. I mean, especially in the country scene, but also Post Malone has done music that's not country too. I mean, that's how he started. It wasn't country is more of a recent development for him. So you're thinking of a pretty wide swath of people that you're attracting to this concert. I can't imagine. I would have been so ticked. It would have been unbelievable to try to navigate. And Branson traffic on its own really isn't the greatest, especially, I mean, you get in that left lane to try to go to Silver Dollar City, you're going to be sitting there for a while. So I can imagine how things would get backed up pretty quickly. And I don't go to a ton of concerts, but I probably will mark this venue off of the list for any concerts in the future.
Well, and unfortunately for those that live in the state of Missouri, for a long time, it's not been the best ran state. Economically, roads, I mean, you could tell the difference of when you're driving in Kansas, when you're driving in Missouri, you can tell the difference on the quality and how well things are taken care of. And Missouri does not take care of itself as well as Kansas, the state of Kansas, has been able to do. That's also another shout out to the Hunt family. I understand that the governor of Missouri has signed the paperwork to fund, 50% of renovations for Arrowhead Stadium to keep the Chiefs around. That renovation would get underway, in 2 or 3 years, something like that. It would take 2 or 3 years to get it all done. And that would keep the Chiefs around for a couple of more decades. Meanwhile, the state of Kansas is set to expire here in a couple of weeks.
So in theory, we should have a decision here pretty quickly.
In theory. I don't know if it necessarily has to be done. I don't know the whole story. Again, I
also think I believe I saw somewhere with someone that's much smarter than me with this specific thing that this, even though it technically expires at the end of June, I think it can still be renewed for another year. So even though there's technically that date on it, I think it's still, we could be a little bit away from a pending decision.
Well, we'll keep up on that for sure to see what's to come about the Chiefs. And, of course, expecting the Royals to do something downtown. I think that's the full plan. But will the Chiefs, will they stay in Missouri? Will they go to Kansas? Everybody knows what I want. Move to Kansas. Build the new stadium. The opportunities for that new stadium, way more than the opportunities of current Arrowhead Stadium. This is, of course, coming from somebody that does not have an attachment to Arrowhead Stadium. I get it. It's a vibe. It's loud. Holds records. Hey, how about break your own record in a new stadium? In a state that takes care of itself better than the other states.
Should be drawn in the fans.
All right, we take a break. When we come back, let's get to K-State football. They continue the roll in 2026. The latest additions to the commit list, as it was a busy Father's Day weekend for K-State football, and that also includes a commitment today with eye-popping numbers from a running back after this timeout on the game.
I started the Maine Frisbee Golf Club at Cornell.
The game.
This is madness.
News Radio KMAN.
That's the sound of flimsy vinyl or polymer siding giving way under pressure. Would you trust something like that on your home's exterior? You invest time and effort into making your home beautiful inside and out. You choose quality pieces that last. So why settle for siding that's essentially plastic? Vinyl or polymer siding can crack in extreme weather, fade like a forgotten photograph, and even warp, leaving your home looking less than its best. Now imagine the satisfying strength and lasting beauty of steel. Midland Exterior steel siding is the equivalent of choosing a timeless, well-crafted piece for your home's exterior. It resists cracking, warping, and fading, maintaining an elegant look and protecting your investment for up to 50 years. Don't let flimsy siding detract from the beauty and value of your home. Upgrade to the enduring strength and sophisticated style of steel siding from Midland Exteriors. Call us today for a free consultation at 855-735-8255 or see the beautiful difference at midlandexteriors.com. That's 855-735-8255 and midlandexteriors.com.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. Wrap away. Tears are water, and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, Wrap away, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
If you build a relationship, then it becomes easier. If you build trust, it becomes easier. As a parent, you want what's best for your child. To give them the love that a child needs is probably the best thing you can do for a teenager.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
He's been a broadcast journalist, political operative, and lobbyist. He's a columnist and author. Now, he's a radio talk show host. Within Reason with Mike Mattson.
Lou Faust used to manage business services for the Manhattan-Ogden School District. Today, he's running for the school board, Wednesday.
Within Reason with Mike Mattson. Following KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Cole Betchendorf with the Game Sports Update. KC Wolf Dan Mears announced his retirement from the Kansas City Chiefs Tuesday, June 17th after 35 years. Mears has served as the team's one and only mascot since 1990. He's helped cheer on the Chiefs for almost all of their biggest games, including all 5 of their Super Bowl appearances since 2019 and 6 international games. He was selected for 14 Pro Bowls, participated in 9 NFL All-Star games, and has performed in 375 total games with the Chiefs. Kansas State continues to roll in the 2026 class. Wolf City, Texas running back H.D. Davis has committed to K-State. The announcement from Davis comes on the heels of an official visit to Kansas State over the weekend. He was one of 8 prospects in Manhattan spanning Thursday and Friday. He was offered by Kansas State back in February. The junior running back held offers from UTEP, Navy, Tulsa, and others before committing to the Wildcats. In total, the Texan is commitment number 14 for K-State in a 2026 class. The Royals are coming into the series on a 6-game losing streak and have a 34-38 overall record as they face the Rangers tonight in Texas. They've struggled on the road with a 15-19 record and have scored just 11 runs over their last 6 games. Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30 tonight on News Radio KMAN.
It's our one of the game. Mitch and Cole with you. Can the Royals break a 6-game skid tonight, taking on the Rangers? Pre-game 6:30?
Believe so. First pitch 7:10.
First pitch 7:10. That's on the road, right? That's Arlington? Okay.
It is in Arlington.
I'll be at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, coming up on July 12th.
Pretty good arena there. Stadium, whatever you want to call it.
Been by it. Right next to it is Texas Live, which is like an indoor Power and Light, KC Power and Light. Indoor, big screen, but there's big screen TVs. It's like the mix. Let me put it this way. It's the mixture of a sports book and Power and Light without the sports betting. But there are plenty of TV. I'll put it this way. Texas Live is way better than Power and Light. It's not even close. It's not even close. Power and Light cannot compete. Other than I know they do have some concerts. I don't know if Texas Live has concerts. Texas Live stomps Power and Light. It's not even close.
I was at a Rangers game a couple of years ago at this point, but it was still the new stadium. And as we were leaving, it might not have been actual Kiss, but I saw Kiss, at least impersonators on stage at this thing. I don't know anything about Kiss.
It wasn't Kiss.
But I saw them up there, and I was like, they're pretty loud. So just kept walking.
You didn't stay?
Mm-mm. We weren't we were just walking back to go home. We had an hour and a half drive still. So
they may have charged you.
We got out. Yes, we got out of there.
Well, it probably wouldn't have been too much money. Cover band, I remember there was like $10 a beer. Like you could get the, 24-ounce beers, $10. It was actually $9, but they just went ahead and charged $10. They don't tell you, but it takes care of the tip. I guess I was like, all right, we'll go about it that way, sir. All right, back on the game, still to come in hour number 2. Another projection says K-State football winning the Big 12 in 2025. K-State Classics with Cole, 2011 game against the Miami Hurricanes. Old Colin Klein had himself an interesting day, but that was I'm telling you, that was a huge game that put him and Snyder 2.0 on the map after that win down in South Beach. And a Kansas City legend announcing his retirement earlier today as well. Let's get caught up on K-State football recruiting 2026. Still some high-end targets still out there for K-State. Some of the highest gets that K-State could claim for 2026 is still out there with K-State within striking distance, but still, some work to do, still some decisions to be made. You have 4-star safeties, 4-star cornerbacks still out there for K-State. Of course, Ian Premer, Great Bend, the top recruit for the state of Kansas in 2026, still undecided in a class of Kansas athletes that has actually been mostly dominated by the Kansas Jayhawks. All right, so let's run through the list of the latest additions for K-State. I'm loving these names. Kingston Hall is a 6'4", 270-pound defensive lineman from the state of Oklahoma. Kind of a quick move here by K-State to get this. He offered back in November, and K-State got it done as he was one of, I think, 9 guys that was in town this past weekend for visits. I mean, half of the guys have committed to K-State, so the Cats getting some work done, adding to the 2026 class. What I will note about him is he's also a running back. 6'4", 270 pounds. Tahlequah, I'm not sure how to say the place in Oklahoma where he's from, but he's also the running back. And I wish I had his numbers, and I wish I had the film, because that is something I want to see.
I need to see that ASAP.
But he is a stud. He is an athlete. He can run fast. For 6'4", 270, if he's also playing running back, he's probably got some feet to him. He's got some speed. And quite the move. K-State making this move and getting a 6'4", 270-pound defensive lineman that's got that talent. All right, so. And plus, high school ranks, that's not something that.
That's some big size.
Well, and that's also not a position that K-State has really been recruiting high school-wise. At least it feels like that way. It's not very many defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen being added through the high school classes much recently. Hannibal Navies, taking a guess on that last name, is a 6'2", 180-pound safety from Buford, Georgia. Again, one of the 9 guys that was in town this past weekend. He commits, if not on the spot, very shortly after. So this past year, he's been getting a lot of offers, ton of offers starting to roll in. Cats get a win over Colorado, Arkansas State, a lot of group of 5s. I think Arizona State was also in there with an offer as well, but I don't think they were very close to getting him. Nick McLennan is another safety, so K-State really cleaning up this weekend on defensive backs as well. That's also a note here. 6 foot, 170 pounds, as he was actually offered over a year ago. That was in May of 2024 where he was offered. He had a lot of offers as well. Missouri, Iowa, Iowa State, KU, Colorado State, Missouri State, Eastern Michigan, Wyoming. A lot of people offering him, but K-State gets the win here, and they get the pretty big win there for K-State as well. Now, getting into the area of really, really impressive guys that have been added to this class. These last 2 that I'm going to mention here, Garrick Dixon a corner, 6'2", $175 from O'Fallon, Missouri. So again, Missouri native. Now I'm gonna give a shout out to K-State Online. I got this information from K-State Online. He was offered 6 days before he committed to K-State. It happened real quick. And apparently, so he was in town for a recent camp and wowed the coaching staff so much, they went to the offer right away. They got it done in less than a week. Like, this is somebody that instantly impressed the coaching staff, where they did not want to waste time on him. He was that good. Darian Whitaker. I mean, we're talking Darian Whitaker type of comparisons here. He is a corner that can scoot. In high school as a junior, running a 4.5 40. A lot of offers there on the table as well, coming from Cincinnati, North Dakota State. This was a win over Iowa State. It looked like Iowa State also was a bit of a favorite. As a matter of fact, he was scheduled to visit Iowa State this next weekend. He canceled it and said, I'm a Wildcat. So take that, Matt Campbell. Take it, Ames, Iowa. That's another win for the Cats on the recruiting trail over Iowa State. And then finally, H.D. Davis commits today. He's a 6', 205-pound running back out of Wolf City, Texas, which I don't think this was like on K-State's board of high school recruits. He was at the top of the list or anything, but he was up there towards the top. But he has made his pledge to K-State. Again, 6', 205 from Texas. He has not been actually evaluated by anybody yet. So that's still to come. Everybody else has been 3 stars. So, again, the announcement comes after visiting here just a couple of days ago. He was just a junior in high school, and check out these numbers. I mean, crazy productive. This past season as a junior, 2,789 yards on the ground. Over 2,700 yards. 33 touchdowns his junior year. And as you can imagine, he was receiving all league, all district, all state honors as a running back. I'm going to do the quick math here real quick. So 2,789 divided by 267. Math geniuses, what does that come out to? 10.5 yards per carry. 10.5 yards per carry.
And it's like 240, 250 yards per game on the ground, which is absurd.
And I think this is a kid that's just starting to blossom when it comes to his recruitment. Because, again, this is something that K-State was able to get done in 4 months. He was offered in February. The Cats get it done. He also had offers from he's a smart kid. I mean, just listen to this. I mean, he's getting from the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy offers coming in, Yale, Cornell. So he's getting Ivy League offers. He also had one from Tulsa, Rice, Wofford, UTEP, kind of from all over the place. But I believe this was his only Power 4 offer. And K-State was able to pounce. I mean, no doubt he's one of the best running backs the state of Texas has to offer. Now, it does appear that he kind of plays, he's not playing against the biggest schools in Texas. It's not in these $1 million stadiums. It's lower classification football in the state of Texas, but he's very impressive and was impressive enough that K-State wanted to make the jump, and they got H.D. Davis out of Wolf City, Texas. I mean, the numbers are just absolutely eye-popping. Crazy numbers. So that's a pretty solid get for K-State, which still, all the recruiting services still have to make the evaluations, and I'm sure he'll be 3-star-ish or something like that. And again, like the star-wise, I mean, it's not thin eye-popping when it comes to K-State's class, but they're landing guys that they want. They're making some pretty quick work. And also give a shout to the quarterback that K-State got a commit from, a week or two ago. Miles Tedecki just got a 4-star.
Yep.
So he is now officially a 4-star
ESPN,
quarterback. Yep, ESPN. He is officially a 4-star recruit. He's the only one, as far as I understand, the only one for K-State's class for 2026. Quarterback's not a position to get that 4-star kid, you know what I mean? Now, like I was saying earlier, K-State still has some of its higher-end recruiting. Those guys are still looking to make decisions. Ian Premer is a very interesting story right now because that competition is very heavy between K-State, KU, Iowa State, I believe Notre Dame is very heavy in that as well. KU just added a tight end to its class that already had another tight end, so they now have two a part of that class. The kid's name is Kevin Sullivan. I mean, the word on the street is that KU is throwing a lot of money at the great Ben Panther. The tight end that's the number one kid in the state of Kansas, where KU has already really done a phenomenal job of cleaning up in-state for 2026. The number one guy is still out there, and Ian Premer. KU hasn't locked it up yet, but neither has Iowa State. And K-State is obviously is up there as one of the favorites. But how does KU now adding a second tight end to its class affect Ian Premer? Does that move K-State in the front? Is still, because of NILs, there's still a great chance that KU can still land him. I mean, keep in mind as well, K-State is really stacked at tight end for the foreseeable future until guys show how good they are and make decisions about their future. So I'm sure that's being taken into consideration as well. I don't know what K-State is offering NIL-wise, how competitive it is with KU, if KU's is by far and away, or if it's a really close margin. I've just heard KU is throwing the most money at Ian Premer. But they just added a tight end. How is that going to change things? Look, we're going to catch up on all of that with K-State on the Line on tomorrow's show, so make sure you're listening at 4:10. The guys that do the best job at following K-State recruiting will get the updates from K-State Online, get the overall reaction to the K-State 2026 class that currently have 14 players. And K-State's landing the guys that they want, but still some names out there that they want to grab. We're talking 4 stars. We're talking the higher-end talent that K-State is still fighting for 2026. But how many more guys are they going to take is another very interesting question. We'll catch up on all of that tomorrow with K-State Online. We take a timeout. Still to come, another projection, K-State winning the Big 12 in 2025. K-State Classics with Cole at 5:30. After a timeout, we crown a new Jabroni of the Week after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Oh, deflected on DeBron, intercepted. It's gone from bad to worse. For West Virginia, first interception of the year for Geno Smith.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Central National Bank's convenient home equity line of credit, or HELOC, can help make it a lot easier to pay for your home improvement project, consolidate debts, or to pay a large, unexpected bill. Put the equity in your home to work for you, and for a limited time, pay no origination fee. Offer of credit is subject to credit approval.
Central National Bank, money for life.
Member FDIC in your hometown since 1884, equal housing lender.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's space for public safety or community gathering, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
America's hunters and target shooters, along with firearm, ammunition, and archery manufacturers, have invested more than $46 billion to help state fish and wildlife agencies manage and protect wildlife and wildlands across America. For more information, visit outdoorstewards.org.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event.
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Philadelphia. Local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money that they put you in bankruptcy because they don't have an off button. They'll just loan you money. You know, you can go get a credit card, you can go on a trip you can't afford, you can go down here and get a car. You know, there's actually people out there walking around that still think that if the bank will loan it to you, it means you can pay it. The same people that think if you have checks left in your checkbook, there must be money in the account. Same people.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN. News Radio KMAN. Weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, a light rain, 72 degrees, and wind out of the south at 6 miles per hour. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely mainly before 11 p.m. Some of those storms could produce heavy rainfall, that chance at 60%. Tomorrow, a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms. After that, a clearing out of the clouds and a high near 83. Wednesday night, mostly clear and a low around 63. Thursday, sunny and a high near 90.
Know your role and shut your mouth. You jabroni. You jabronis hit the jackpot.
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan.
Ow. Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
Well, it is that time of the week as the College World Series continues. Elimination game. It looks like it's about to wrap up, and it looks like Oregon State is about to get bounced. How about unranked Louisville? Looks like they're about to move on in the College World Series. But, Oregon State just scored a run, 6-4 Cardinals.
Did you catch that game yesterday? The first no-hitter in 60 years?
No, I mean, I didn't watch it. Saw the highlights, heard about it.
It was insane.
Heard about it after the fact. Didn't know what was going on while it was going on live.
I was watching the first 4 or so innings of the game and then got a notification after the 7th that we were on perfect game watch. Started tuning in, and then first batter that I was watching got plunked. I was like, of course, I ruined it again.
Well, stay tuned. That may come up in this edition of Jabroni of the Week. 3 dishonorable mentions. The final Jabroni I mentioned will be the culprit, the Jabroni of the Week. We'll start with dishonorable mention number 1. And Cole, I think it's just appropriate to say the Kansas City Royals.
I'm in full-hearted agreement.
I mean, they've kind of turned into a disaster recently.
It's been really bad.
Just a complete lack of offense. Even with Jack Caglione in the lineup. Yes, don't forget, Jack Caglione was called up a few weeks ago, and now the Royals are playing some of their worst baseball. Like even, am I wrong about this? Like starting pitching hasn't been.
It hasn't been amazing.
Royals starting pitching lately.
Hasn't been terrible, but hasn't been what it was in the beginning of the year.
6-game losing streak. At one point, this team had won 16 of 18 games. Yep. Was the best team in baseball, and now you can argue they may be the worst team in baseball. The way they're playing right now, they're not winning games. That's what it comes down to. They're 34-38. They are scoring in their losing streak plus. I mean, they're scoring the least amount of runs. Their pitching has been second half of Major League Baseball. And they were not too long ago, just 4 games back in the Central, and now they're 11 and a half back in the Central.
It's been pitiful. It's been a terrible offense, and they had a players-only meeting after their 4-0 loss. I believe that was on Saturday against the A's, and it didn't do anything. They scored 2 runs on Sunday, and they pulled Noah Cameron early, and Coach Q was receiving some backlash about that one. and immediately give up that lead, and then Estevez gives up a solo shot in the ninth, 3-2 A's, and you're swept by one of the worst teams in baseball. I was thinking, in the Are the Royals Doing Okay last Friday, my comment was, if they can win 4 out of these 6 on the road, or 6-game stretch between the A's and the Rangers, neither of which are doing too great, specifically the Athletics, who had lost 14 straight home games coming into the series, you're probably feeling a little bit better, and instead you get swept, and now you're on the road to the Rangers, and now 22 of your next 25 games, and as we head to the All-Star break, are against teams that are 500 and over.
Well, we'll catch up on Thursday if the Royals are doing okay. They got 2 games to kind of correct a few things to get closer to 500, and they're now 4 games below 500. Okay, my next dishonorable mention, I'm going to go with Stephen A. Smith. Look,
Don't get me started.
I'm not, well, yeah, I mean, you're probably like a lot of people, you think his commentary is wrong, first of all. Don't agree with it. Like, okay, you right away commented that, you're basically not a fan of Stephen A. Smith. Why are you not a fan of Stephen A. Smith?
He's just so bullish. He never will come out and say that he was wrong about something. He's just like the main guy you think about when you think of what's wrong with mainstream media. I mean, we're in the middle of the finals, and we're talking about these random topics like, is Luka Doncic going to be back and better next year, or it's the NFL season or the off season, and we're talking about like Dak Prescott's legacy. I don't think that's just Stephen A. Smith, but I think that's kind of what media has turned into as a whole, and I think really he's one of the spearheads that's kind of ruined mainstream sports media.
Well, I was just going to call him out because he got caught playing solitaire during the NBA Finals.
I was going to let you do the honors.
You look like you have something to say more than I do about this.
It's just a joke. I mean, you got a guy who's supposed to be there covering the finals. You're live in person, and it's during action. It wasn't even like during a timeout. It was literally, I mean, the video that was taken by whatever viewer posted it, it was during the game, and he's playing solitaire on his phone. Like, what are we doing? We can get any analysts who will provide A, way more to what they're doing, and then B, actually be watching the game as it's happening.
Well, he is like, if not he's one of the highest paid people at ESPN.
He's the reason there's been so many like layoffs recently.
Because he got a huge pay raise,
like $20 million a year.
And they also paid Pat McAfee.
Yes,
a crazy ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm off and on. I have like a love-hate with Pat McAfee. I'm just not. I don't like the over-the-top commentary.
Sure.
Like when we start yelling for no reason.
Right.
Like, let's be real. Like, what if I hosted this show that way? Would that be any good?
I don't think so.
If I just got fired up about these low-caliber stories, like, why are we yelling about a pinch runner in the 7th inning in a game that happens in July, or, just some random fact about the NBA? Like, I think it's all fake. When I say fake, it's like it's stage theater. It's like pro wrestling. Like, it's only interesting when we're yelling, we have to broadcast our point of views louder than the other person, because in arguments, the louder person is the right person. At least it's portrayed that way, which is absolutely not the right. It's more of a debate show, not just a spit the facts type of show. And we make arguments out of things that shouldn't be argued about, or at least there's no reason to argue about it, or it's been argued about 1,000 times. Like, I'm okay with Stephen A. Smith when we're having an uncontrolled conversation. When he starts yelling, it loses my attention. Go ahead.
That was David G. He said that apparently he was telling me a story about a judge who was like playing solitaire during like a trial.
Whoa.
So he's saying maybe we should give Stephen A. little bit of grace.
That's way worse.
Yeah.
That is way worse.
Yes, it is.
Well, like, with Stephen A., like, I'll give him this. How many NBA finals has he probably been to?
Yeah, I have no idea.
A dozen?
Yeah, probably.
15,
in that ballpark,
20?
Since ESPN's been mainly covering it.
He's been there, done that. Plus, I would guess, like, I gave Stephen A. Smith a chance a long time ago. And again, like I just mentioned, like the over-the-top broadcast of your point of view, and we start yelling for no reason or something. Like, nobody should be that angry about sports when the team you're talking about you have no absolute affiliation to. Like, come on. Like, it's all, that's all for show.
And I think it's too much been made about him. Like, there was the whole, I don't know if you followed along with the LeBron thing earlier in the year, where LeBron, like, confronted him when he was courtside at a Lakers game. And then Stephen A. went on, like, a national tour, like, saying that LeBron did this and LeBron did that. And then he also talked about, Tyrese Halliburton said something about, like, the media talking heads not knowing a ton about basketball. And Stephen A., which, I mean, you can connect the own dots here, took it as a personal shot at himself and was talking about better players have said less and he's gotten better players in trouble. I don't know. I just don't like – I used to be a fan of Stephen A. Smith, and the more recent years, I've just gotten more tired and tired of him.
I can't imagine myself being even if I did go to a random NBA finals or whatever, where I didn't have a rooting interest. I'm just there because it's the finals, and playing a game on my phone during that. Like, if I was the person standing next to me, I'd be mad at that person for playing on their phone. Like, yeah, what are you 100%. Doing here?
Right.
Okay, anyway. My last dishonorable mention, I'm going to go with Murray State baseball. It was the no-hitter that was thrown against them the other day. So what a story this is, because Gage Wood, I'm just curious if K-State fans know the story about Gage Wood. So, I mean, he is the ace for Arkansas. He's one of the best pitchers in the country.
Projected first round next year.
Projected first rounder. I mean, he's really good. He never did play against K-State either this year or last year. He was originally committed to K-State.
Really?
He was originally going to be a Wildcat. And then Arkansas basically,
could have used him.
How do I want to put this? Outbid? I don't know how I want to put that. Stole him away from K-State. He flips before signing day, and he ends up going to Arkansas, which I think makes K-State beating Arkansas just a tad bit sweeter now that you know that these last couple of years. But he ended up with a no-no in the College World Series against Murray State, where he faced 28 batters. 28. He walked one of them. That's how close he was to a perfect game in the College World Series. It was the first no-no since 1960. And because of that no-no, there is a small barbecue chain in Arkansas. And from that barbecue chain, he will have free brisket for life.
I would be going frequently.
Oh, hell yeah.
Brisket is so good.
Wright's Barbecue, by the way. I'll give them a shout-out for the next time we go down there for a regional. But finally, my Jabroni of the Week. Got a little criticism for this the other day because apparently I used too many high school stories, and too many times that high school Jabroni is the Jabroni of the Week. They have the best stories.
They do. Can't beat a high school story.
Yeah, especially when these stories are coming from the finish line. They're coming from state championship games. Boy, like this one in the state of Pennsylvania. North Penn relief pitcher Caleb Price is my Jabroni of the Week. So this was a clip that went viral last week. So they go to extra innings. It's the longest postseason baseball game in Pennsylvania high school baseball history. Kind of surprising because it was just 12 innings. But 12th inning, we're in the bottom of went 13 innings. We get to the bottom of the 13th, we're still tied. Bases loaded with 2 outs. Caleb Price just trying to get this final out, and he balks. He balks.
That one hurts.
In the winning run in the state championship game. As he was coming set, shimmies that back leg a little bit.
I saw that clip.
Without going into the windup.
It was a balk.
Home plate ump calls it.
Tough way to lose,
a balk to lose.
Just heartbreaking.
The state championship.
I mean, that's a spot you're dreaming to be in until it happens, and then just brutal.
I mean, come on, is that fair though? Is that a fair Jabroni
I think that's
of the
a fair
week?
Jabroni of the week. I mean, a balk off.
This kid's probably going to play some college baseball. I don't know. Apparently this team was really, really good. Anyway. Hour 2 of the game coming up next.
Number you have reached.
Tweet the game, KMAN, or call 537-1350 and get in touch with the show. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
It wasn't long ago that air conditioning wasn't a standard luxury item found in businesses and homes. Can you imagine life without it now? The heating and air industry has changed through the years, but one company has remained constant since 1981. For over 40 years, M&S Plumbing has kept Manhattan and the surrounding communities cool. M&S repairs all brands and offers 24-hour emergency service. So if your AC needs serviced, call on a name you can trust.
Call the experts who care. M&S
Hey, K-State fans, tickets for all 6 of K-State's home football games in the 2025 season are on sale now. Order yours today and secure a seat as Avery Johnson and the Cats host North Dakota, Army, UCF, TCU, Texas Tech, and Colorado. Remember, Saturdays are better in the Bill, surrounded by the K-State family. So order your tickets today by visiting kstatesports.com. We can't wait to see you in the Bill this fall.
Stop. Look no further than Buck Roofing. For nearly 20 years, Buck has specialized in top-quality roofing, installation, and repairs for residential and commercial properties. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate. 785-230-9379.
From lending options to treasury management services, KS State Bank provides innovative solutions to help your business succeed. KS State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. KMAN, Manhattan. Now, the latest news from the News Radio KMAN and Manhattan Mercury Newsroom.
An update from the Law Board, NBAF releases new information, and an update to the Riley County Fireworks resolution. This is your 5 p.m. news. I'm Bernie Bancella. The Manhattan Municipal Band concert scheduled for this evening has been moved indoors to McCain Auditorium because of the weather forecast. The concert will feature Boston Brass members Jeff Connor and Domingo Pagliuca. The Little Apple Barbershop Chorus will also perform selections with the municipal band. The concert is free and open to the public. Overnight storms brought some damage reports across east central Kansas. According to the National Weather Service, law enforcement reported wind damage in Abilene with trees and power poles knocked down. Wind damage was also reported in Solomon. A 101-mile-per-hour wind gust was measured at the Eisenhower National Airport in Wichita. Wind gusts between 60 to 90 miles per hour were measured in portions of Cloud, Dickinson, and Ottawa counties. The Manhattan area is still in a risk for severe weather development today. A boundary setting up south of I-70 is expected to become the focus for storm development in the evening. If storms form along that boundary, they could bring very large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes. A more widespread severe weather threat arrives later this evening as a line of storm pushes in from the west with all hazards possible. A flood watch is in effect for portions of north central and northeast Kansas. The Riley County Police Department will see a 5.4% increase in its overall budget for 2026. The Law Board on Monday approved the finalized budget totaling $30.3 million on a 5-1 vote, with Greg McKinley, the lone board member, to oppose it. The increase amounts to about $1.6 million in added taxpayer funding. The board also discussed their engagement with James Gordon and Associates for audits of the police department. Board member Caleb James reiterated his concern that the board has never been able to receive the audit reports prior to the Law Board approving its budget.
Again, I want it to be useful because when we get the audit results and the budget is passed, then what are we doing? Like, oh, this is what we could have done if we had this information in front of us prior. So it leaves us looking in hindsight.
In a further effort to improve the board and department's functional relationship, board member Craig Beardsley said he will be looking to work in a smaller committee with RCPD personnel to establish standards in guiding the calculation and formation of proposed budgets in the future. U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins was questioned last week about the employment status of federal workers at Manhattan's NBAF facility. Rollins responded to questions from U.S. Representative Sharice Davids, who said she was still curious how as many as 28 people could be hired and rehired and how those jobs could be on the chopping block in the first place.
These firings don't just affect federal workers. They threaten food safety. They stall critical research at places like Kansas State University, and they leave farmers and ranchers without the support that they depend on.
Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins on Wednesday acknowledged that what happened in February was an imperfect process.
There were no firings. There was a probation period. They were all brought back. I worked with the senators from your state to ensure that was the case, but it is my understanding that all of that was unfrozen almost immediately and put back into place.
As previously reported, USDA officials said all the terminated employees were subsequently rehired, but an anonymous source said as many as 40 employees took deferred resignation. Rollins says when Trump left office after his first term, the USDA had 90,000 employees, and when he returned in January, it had 112,000. She said USDA is working to realign and refocus. Riley County officials on Monday repealed and replaced the resolution controlling the sale and use of fireworks in the county. The new resolution extends the dates for the seasonal sale and discharge of fireworks to match the updated state rules. In April, the Kansas legislature changed the statute, allowing seasonal retailers to sell as early as June 20th and as late as July 7th for Independence Day. Counties still have the authority to regulate those sale dates. Riley County will allow fireworks sales to begin June 28th through the 4th of July. Previous sales were only allowed for the first 4 days in July. The new resolution also increased the fee for seasonal fireworks sale permits from $25 to $100.
News is powered by Central National Bank with locations at the Walmart Supercenter and at College and Claflin. Central National Bank, member FDIC. News Radio, KMAN, weather.
Right now in the Manhattan area, still a light drizzle, 69 degrees, wind out of the east at 6 miles per hour. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms likely mainly before 11 o'clock. Some of those storms could produce heavy rainfall, a chance at 60%. Other than that, an overnight low of 64. Tomorrow, a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms mainly in the morning. After that, a clearing out of those clouds and a high near 83. Thursday, sunny and a high near 90.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452. It is hour 2 of the game. The game after work. Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf with you till 6 o'clock. Royals baseball at 6:30. Pregame coverage at 6:30. And then first pitch at 7:10 against the Texas Rangers. A couple of more notes before we get to, we still got K-State Classics with Cole, the 2011 Miami game. Cole watched it for the first time. We'll get that review at about 5:30. Another projection about K-State football winning the Big 12 in 2012 is coming up here in a few moments as well, and a Kansas City legend retiring. That announcement coming today. So first of all, a couple of things. Friday, we're finding that winner finally on who's going to be winning an all-expenses-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Passport to Cabo comes to a wrap Friday. 3 to 6 o'clock is the party at Briggs Auto Lane. And even if you're not a finalist, you can still come by, hang out, and win prizes. There are going to be food trucks, treat trucks, and prizes to win throughout those 3 hours as we then lead up to the big reveal on who's going to be winning the all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, which you do have to be a finalist for, which, by the way, brought to you by U-Stop, Phillips 66, and, of course, our friends as well at the Friendship House. And you do have to be a finalist, which if you haven't filled out your paperwork yet, stop by 2414 Casement Road. We're open from 8 to 5. Stop by the Business Inn that's on the north side and get that done. You got to be present to win the trip, by the way. You got to be present to win. At the very least, you will leave with a pretty snazzy T-shirt, which we're all going to be wearing out there as well. You're going to be there, right?
I will be.
I'll be there as
Just
well.
Just got hooked up with that shirt.
So we will not have a show on Friday. So we're with you today, tomorrow, and Thursday. No show on Friday because of that Cabo San Lucas party at Briggs Auto Lane, 3 to 6 o'clock on Friday. And one more thing. Heads up, could be dealing with a little bit of severe weather tonight. Nothing guaranteed, of course. Right now, things kind of going underneath to the south of our listening area, just underneath Wabaunsee. But there is a window of severe weather tonight. I'll be on call
Looks
for
like
that.
Wichita's getting destroyed right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of red. Holy cow. There's a lot of rotation. Wow. Wow. I did not notice that.
There's like 3 or 4 spots just north of Wichita. Hopefully it avoids Newton.
So, yeah, well, hope it does.
I mean, want to avoid everything.
Sure.
Selfishly wanted to avoid Newton.
Yeah. Spotted rotation. 3 other areas. I don't know what the colors exactly mean.
I think the pink is hail.
Okay.
I want to say.
Okay. So, yeah, a lot of lightning, heavy wind, hail, over an inch and a quarter in diameter. Yeah, the Wichita area is getting slammed right now. But apparently, let's see, in what direction is that moving, though? That's what's key here. That's what we've been watching and expecting. And right now it's moving to the east-northeast. So we hope that does stay underneath our listening area, but of course we'll keep an eye on that.
That system should stay pretty clear south, I think.
Okay. But it looks like the window is until midnight. But right now, no watches, no warnings, or anything like that, as far as I understand. But we will keep an eye on it, of course. Very much looking forward to K-State Classics with Cole. We have our third 2011 game coming up later on in this hour. You want to hear about another projection for K-State football winning the Big 12 in 2025? It seems like I'm the only one not picking K-State to win the Big 12.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Maybe an exaggeration, but I'm talking about like folks putting together power rankings from either a mom and pop media service or ESPN, Fox, and then you want to talk about the analytics, like the Jabroni analytics. A lot of folks picking K-State. I have yet to say that K-State's going to win the Big 12, and I kind of have a thing about that. First of all, like I'm just kind of, I'm totally basing this on the players returning. Because Arizona State, Sam Levitt's coming back. That was a freshman phenom last year. Of course, replacing Cam Scatterbo is not the easiest thing in the world. That's a pretty strong player to have to replace. But Arizona State, who just won the Big 12, is returning with the most players in the country. It's a tie for the most in any other teams in the country with Florida. If I'm Florida, I don't know if I want to replace everybody like that. Arizona State, yeah, just played in the college football playoff, won the Big 12, returning all those dogs pretty much. Yeah, I think it's fair to put them at the top. Now, schedule-wise, tougher than some others. The latest projection that has K-State winning the Big 12 is Kelley Ford. Now, here's how I pick out my favorite analytics services, power ranking services. I like the ones that have nice graphics. Easy to follow, easy to read graphics. Because once you still get all complicated with the drop downs and the filters and, I can't go any further unless I create an account. Oh, it's free, but then if you pay, then you get this extra access, but we're going to still send you all these promos, and maybe after 6 months, you'll save $20 on a Dunkin' Donuts gift card. Stuff like that. I don't have a whole lot of interest in that. Kelley Ford's free. The graphics are cool. Let's roll with it. But they're one of many that have now projected K-State to win the Big 12. But they put out one of my favorite graphics of the year. I think it's fun to kind of read through it. And they go game by game, but they also chart it out to basically just the number of games and the percentage of a chance that team will win this many games in their conference. And I noticed a couple of things. They do have K-State at the top of the leaderboard. Kelley Ford is projecting K-State will win 6.2 games in conference play. Now 9 games total. So basically a good chance of K-State going 6-3 in the Big 12. Now that's a very interesting note, but I'll tell you why here in just a moment. But I'll give you some other notes here as well. Arizona State a little bit behind there at 5.8. A tie for third, BYU and Tech at 5.5. So we just mentioned 4 teams that I think are the popular teams to be up there at the top of the leaderboard. Preseason, Big 12. TCU and Baylor not far behind at 5.3 at 5-6. Bit of a surprise to see KU at number 7 at 5.0, tied with Utah. I'm giving Utah a better shot than KU right now. Iowa State coming in at 9th. I have them as my dark horse. I do have them as my dark horse at 4.9. That's where they're projected to finish on how many Big 12 wins they will get, and a 3% chance they'll finish with 8 wins, 13% chance at 7. K-State is also graded out that way. They are given a 3% chance by Kelley Ford to win 9 games, run the table in the Big 12. 17% chance to win 8, 43% chance to win 7, pretty big number, after a team that went 5-4 the previous year. Couple of reasons why Kelley Ford is picking K-State to win the Big 12. One I agree with, one I disagree with. The one I agree with is the offense. Kelley Ford is projecting K-State to have one of the best offenses in the country. Potentially Absolutely. I have no argument there. With its speed, with its agility, with some questions as well. But the wide receivers are being quite a bit hyped up here in the preseason. Offensive line questions. But boy, does it have the opportunity to be really good. The one I don't agree with is the schedule. Because Kelley Ford says K-State has the 4th easiest schedule of the Power 4 teams in 2025. Now, right out of the gate, I think Iowa State has an easier schedule. And I think Baylor has an easier schedule. I mean, a big part as to why I do have them high on my list in my own power rankings, which I have K-State 2, I have Arizona State 1, I slid BYU down to 5 because of the possibility Jake Retzloff is not going to play this year or could miss some time because of these sexual assault allegations. So I slid them down a little bit. I moved some teams up. But a favorable schedule for Baylor and Baylor and Iowa State. Now, I will say that K-State will not play Arizona State. They will not play BYU. So based on these projections by Kelley Ford, it's just all adding up to favor K-State based on their opinion, based on their power rankings, based on their metrics. Mine are obviously a little bit different. That's why I disagree a little bit, because K-State will go on the road and have some tough matchups. And just based on what Kelley Ford is projecting here, yes, there's still a tough slate ahead of K-State. You go to Baylor, you go to Kansas, you go to Utah. And according to Kelley Ford, those are top half teams in the Big 12. And I would say, yeah, probably the 3 games I worry about the most, with the exception of Oklahoma State, which Kelley Ford is not too high on, and not a lot of people are after an 0-9 run in the Big 12 last year, and are Mike Gundy's days in Stillwater numbered. Yeah, a lot to improve on if you're in Stillwater. Now, I like the projection. I always, when I say I like I appreciate it. I'll put it that way. I'm more the bulletin board material guy. I'm perfectly happy with preseason ranking K-State at number 2. That's honestly how I feel about this season. I really do. I project them to go to the Big 12 championship game. But I think right now, for what we know about these teams, that Arizona might just be slightly better. Arizona State slightly better. And I'll give you this as well. Here's another thing I noticed about this ranking, as I gather my notes here. So as I pointed out earlier, K-State, win in Big 12, is basically being projected to go 6-3. So what does that tell you? Well, the Big 12 might cannibalize itself more than it ever has according to their power rankings, according to their metrics, which is not good for the Big 12. That's not good. Because it'll certainly lessen your chance of getting multiple teams in the conference. If your best team is 6-3, you'll have multiple teams, I'm sure, at that point at 6-3. But also, Kelley Ford says, well, there is at least a 60% chance that nobody will finish worse than 3 wins in the Big 12. So Kelley Ford is basically putting everybody in the Big 12 between 6-3 and 3-6, which would just be absolute chaos.
And you look at last year's Kelley Ford's projections, and the top 5 outside of K-State, who was number 1 last year: Utah, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas. Granted, that's kind of what a lot of people were projecting before the season started, but you saw how off that was compared to the final standings last year. So I think the Big 12 is just fundamentally a pretty difficult conference to predict. You don't necessarily have your powerhouses like you might have in the SEC or the Big 10, but you also don't necessarily have a lot of cupcakes on that schedule either.
No, but that's where I feel like Kelley Ford is coming away with K-State saying that they have one of the easiest schedules, and that's because there's just so much parity in the conference. They're just going to eat each other up, but K-State has the better chances of coming out unscathed compared to others based on schedule, based on how they honestly project the Big 12 to be, and that's to be the worst Power 4 conference in America in 2025 and into 2026. I mean, I went back and looked all the seasons ever since we got rid of the divisions. There's never been one season where nobody's reached 7 wins. There's only been one time where just one team reached 7 wins in the Big 12, and that was the COVID year.
Which doesn't really count.
Where, it doesn't count. Week in and week out, we didn't know who was going to play. Every other year but 2020, since we got rid of divisions, you had at least 2 teams finish with 7 wins in a 9-game conference slate. So right there, that tells you track record, history, that Kelley Ford is wrong on this one. That we are going to have a more competitive Big 12, and we will most likely have a more competitive Big 12 than what is projected. So which, in my opinion, will lessen K-State's chances as to what is projected by Kelley Ford of the Cats running the table, which 3% chance, for the Big 12 standards, according to most metrics, that's a pretty high number, unlike in Ohio State that has a 55% chance of running the table. You're talking about top-heavy conferences. The Big 12 is more top-heavy than projected. Remember last year we had 4 7-win teams in the conference. So we had to go through a whole lot of tiebreakers compared to previous years, but that has happened in years past. The average for a number of teams to reach 7 wins in the Big 12 are nearly 3. So when you have more teams in the conference, unbalanced scheduling, I think the odds are even greater that you're going to have more teams competing for the Big 12 championship every year. Kelley Ford says that's probably going in the other direction. I'm going to disagree. Jim Brony, that's why you should subscribe to the Jim Brony analytics and metrics, has the Big 12 projected to go the other way when it comes to good teams competing for spots in the Big 12 championship, in the college football playoff, but does agree that K-State's one of the best this year to get there.
One thing I just saw is they're shockingly high on UCF. They're projecting 4 wins for UCF. They have them at 10th in the conference.
I'd have to go back and look, but right now, UCF is a mess.
Yeah.
Injuries. They literally have a 4-man quarterback race, which neither of them sound like a great option. They've already lost 3 wide receivers to season-ending injuries.
I would be shocked if they got to 4 conference wins.
I don't even know what they're supposed to be defensively. I have no clue. It's just going to be a really different team there at the Bounce House, and K-State will be hosting UCF. I think that's at the end of September or maybe early October. It's before the road trip to Waco, Texas, is whenever that game is going to be played. I keep forgetting. Aer Lingus College Football Classic's a Big 12 game. Getting the slate started August 23rd.
Love that, to be honest.
I do. I do like it. Because if it doesn't go K-State's way, which I've been talking to a few friends about that, they're really worried. They want to go really bad to Dublin and go to this game, but they're worried about spending all that money, traveling all that way, and then K-State loses.
Sure.
I'm like, well, I'd rather have this game at the beginning of the year than in the end of the year. It's going to be a lot easier to overcome and forget about that loss if it's early on. You have 3. You have a non-conference slate, which I'll maybe agree with Kelley Ford on this, should not be the toughest non-conference schedule in the world. Arizona, I don't think is going to be any good. And I mean, this is kind of the year of the returning quarterback in the Big 12. Last year's running back, give me a segment idea there. But this year is the return of the quarter. I mean, all the top teams that you would expect in the Big 12 to finish in the top half this year all have returning quarterbacks. And, of course, that includes Avery Johnson and Ronco Becht. But Iowa State certainly has had K-State's number here recently. I think that also kind of scares some K-State fans away.
That's what I'm worried about,
just the track the history lately, it's been all pretty much Iowa State other than a 10-9 game in 2022 in Ames, Iowa. Yeah, ever since 2020, it's been pretty much Iowa State. But I hope in some ways Kelley Ford is right. I expect in other ways Kelley Ford to be wrong, but I will give them this. I love your graphics. That alone got the follow. I don't know if you're the most popular.
Very visual appealing.
Yeah, and even the website is really easy to navigate. It's simple. It's low budget. The graphics look good. There's not 100 drop downs with 20 other options for filters. Let's keep it simple. I like simple. And K-State could also keep it simple and just go 12-0.
I'd be very okay with that too.
When we come back, K-State Classics with Cole. The 2011 Miami game, which I found the audio, guys. Wyatt Thompson, Stan Weber, their call of the goal line stand. You're going to hear that played back after this timeout on the game.
You're locked into The Game on News Radio KMAN.
My name is Heidi Dixon. Mom, Jackie Wolf, was the patient of interim hospice. I live in Texas, and after Mom got on hospice, when I came back to Texas, interim was a huge lifeline for me in terms of information. Maria, the social worker, was a dream. Going every other week, sharing a picture and what Mom was doing and what was she saying and what was she looking forward to. And she brought us right into the room with Mom. And she said when she was planning to go next. And as a hospice worker in Texas, I was asking our social workers, are we doing this? This is amazing. She was so engaged with Mom and so connected the dots for us. That was invaluable. Aside from Mom's increasing comfort with the pain management provided by hospice, the social work connection and support, those were the two most visible benefits that I continue to be exceedingly grateful for.
We care, we're there, interim health care.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's giving me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
He's been a broadcast journalist, political operative, and lobbyist. He's a columnist and author. Now, he's a radio talk show host. Within Reason with Mike Mattson.
Lou Faust used to manage business services for the Manhattan-Ogden School District. Today, he's running for the school board, Wednesday.
Within Reason with Mike Mattson. Following KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Cole Betchendorf with the Game Sports Update. Kansas City Wolf Dan Mears announced his retirement from the Kansas City Chiefs Tuesday after 35 years. Mears has served as the team's one and only mascot since 1990. He has helped cheer on the Chiefs for almost all of their biggest games, including all 5 of their Super Bowl appearances since 2019 and 6 international games. He was selected for 14 Pro Bowls, participated in 9 NFL All-Star games, and has performed in 375 total games with the Chiefs. Kansas State continues to roll in its 2026 class, as Wolf City, Texas running back H.D. Davis committed to K-State earlier on Tuesday. The announcement from Davis comes on the heels of an official visit to Kansas State over the weekend. He was one of 8 prospects in Manhattan spanning Thursday and Friday. Davis was offered by K-State back in February. The junior running back held offers from UTEP, Navy, Tulsa, and others before committing to the Wildcats. This past season for Wolf City, he was extremely productive, tallying 2,700 yards on 267 carries while scoring 33 touchdowns for the Wolves. In total, the Texan is commitment number 14 for K-State in the 2026 class. The Royals will try to end a 6-game losing streak tonight, taking on the Rangers in a best-of-3 series, starting tonight at 6:30 on News Radio KMAN.
Hour 2 of the game. I'm not going to lie, this is the segment I'm really looking forward to now every week because I love talking about classic games, classic players, legends. And boy, does this game certainly fall into the category of a K-State classic in Cole Dutchendorf. Well, folks, he's a youngin'. I mean, you know the saying, well, I wasn't born yesterday. Well, he was pretty close to born yesterday.
Week ago. What in the world? Week ago. Just forgot how to talk there for a second.
You scratching some records over there?
I guess. My goodness.
Yeah, he's 21 years old. He doesn't remember these games that were, 15 years ago or something like that. I mean, this game was 14 years ago. Can you believe that? It's been a minute since K-State visited South Beach, visited the Miami Hurricanes in a non-conference game. It was rare that Bill Snyder would take a team on the road in non-conference play. They did it a couple of times in the 2010s. This was the first one. Actually, the second one. When was the Lafayette game? Was that 2009? Anyway, the Miami game. The first of 2, the home and home. They played again in 2012. I don't have the open of the broadcast. I could not find that. But we will get Wine and Stan's call at that goal line stand. But Cole, this is your platform to watch a K-State Classic for the first time. And I want to get your feedback of a guy watching this Classic for the first time and what stood out. So I'm giving you the reins again. K-State Classics with Cole. Tell me about this game and what stood out to you.
Well, again, it was just the contrast in the weather was the biggest thing that I noted. I mean, the game last week was 2000 Nebraska, and that was 34 at kickoff, a real feel of 17, sleet pretty much the entire game, and then snow, or at least making it evident that it was snow at the very end of it where it was a snow-covered field. You couldn't see any of the yard markers. And then this week in Miami in late September. So obviously going to be a little bit different of a setting just geographically. So it was like I looked back on the weather history and it was 90 degrees at kickoff. And I wanted to know, because I wrote this down, that the coach for Miami was wearing a suit. It was Al Golden, who is the now DC at Cincinnati for the Bengals. So good luck with that. Woof.
Well, he doesn't wear the jacket, but he wears the white shirt. And
Correct.
I think he would.
It was white collared in a Miami orange tie was what he was rocking on that day. And it was, I mean, we're talking white collared shirt on a 90-degree day.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see every single part of his chest.
I mean, Bill's wearing a jacket.
Yes.
He's wearing a
too.
windbreaker.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Insane. So both different levels of crazy. The dirt still on the field thanks to the Miami Marlins. Actually, the last game that ever had dirt at Hard Rock Stadium, the Marlins were entering their new stadium, so their regular season must have come to an end right after this game.
Close to it, yeah.
Yes. So the last ever game at Hard Rock with dirt. And I kind of like that aesthetic. It was with the Oakland Raiders as they shared the stadium with the A's. I don't remember this is Patrick Mahomes even played on it back in like 2017, his first year as a starter. I kind of like that aesthetic on the football field with the dirt.
Well, I remember this has been a number of years ago, but we had Colin Klein on, and we asked him about that game, and there was a play that he got tackled on the dirt. And he said that was one of the hardest tackles ever just because it was on the dirt. Like,
that could not have felt good.
Way more unforgiving than the grass.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, they're basically playing on the cement that we saw in that Nebraska game.
And footing is different.
Right.
It's different. It's
logistical nightmare, but obviously with having multiple teams in the same arena, it's bound to happen at some point. There was some legitimate talent on this Miami team. We're talking 23 players on the roster that ended up in the NFL in one capacity or another. The three that stood out to me that I recognized just by hearing their name was Philip Dorsett, Travis Benjamin, and Lamar Miller. Miller on a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL a couple of times. Benjamin was 34 yards away from being a 1,000-yard receiver for the Browns. So, I mean, take that as you will. But still, NFL legitimate talent, a lot of speed, as you mentioned, on that outside. It was a good start for Miami following a kickoff return to like the 50 from Travis Benjamin. And their offense was kind of similar to Baylor, at least in the beginning of the game, and where they were super up-tempo. We're not talking no huddle, 16 seconds coming off of the play clock and you're running it, but in terms of what the actual offense looked like, they're going to get it out quick to their guys in space, their playmakers, try to spread the defense out a little bit. And it worked pretty well on that first drive. K-State did hold them to a field goal, so that was a win. One comment made by the commentator, I believe it was Brian Grease. The two commentators, Clay Greasy. Clay Matvick was on the play-by-play, and Greasy on for color. I believe it was Greasy who said, "Can Colin Klein handle the workload?" I think that both this game, later in this season, and then the next season made it very clear that there was a pretty resounding yes that he can handle the workload.
But let's think back, though, and think about that, because that would have been Colin Klein.
Right, it's early in his time. I'm just saying it's funny to look back on that, knowing the historical context of what he accomplished.
Because that may have been his fourth or fifth start at that time.
Right, it was very young in his career. It's just funny to hear that now, with hindsight being 2020. The Miami defense was legit, so early start for K-State because they only held Ohio State to 6 points the previous week, granted not current Ohio State.
Well, that Ohio State team, that was a bad team because Jim Tressel ended up leaving the team because of the whole tattoo thing. Oh, gosh. Satterfield? I think Satterfield? No, Fickle, Luke Fickle became the interim. And so, there was, coaching change 3 months before the season,
They held Ohio State out of the red zone in their previous game. So I was like, oh man, is this going to be like the 85 Bears that I'm witnessing in this game against K-State? It was not. It did not affect K-State on their first drive. Slow, methodical, very K-State 2011 type of drive. 11 plays, 63 yards, just over 5 minutes, capped with the rushing touchdown from Colin Klein. There was a lot of purple in this crowd. Definitely, I mean, you could hear the Miami cheering when good things were happening, but, I mean, they panned to, it was straight purple in Hard Rock Stadium. So, I mean.
In areas?
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. K-State, they're always going to travel well. I already mentioned the shirt, the white collared shirt on the temperature of 80 plus in the high 80s in Miami for head coach Al Golden. Emmanuel Lemur with a huge hit on Jacoby Harris that probably prevented a touchdown pass. Thinking about it right now, I don't recall the exact play, but it was he destroyed. It was Ja'Cory Harris, and there was a guy who was wide open, but I mean that's a big guy in the backfield laying a boom and preventing probably a touchdown pass, and they end up punting. Next drive for K-State, I put down Andre McDonald, a big man. Tough to bring him down. A lot of timely plays made by K-State in this first half. They started 6 for 6 on third downs.
I remember that being a pretty big deal. Like, K-State was really good on third downs in that game, and they faced all sorts of measurements on what they needed to convert. I remember, actually, I don't think this was a third down conversion, but there was a play where K-State was backed up at the goal line, and Collins just took off and ran and was like 2 yards short of a first down, and that turned into instead of a 3rd and 26, it was a 3rd and 2. Because Colin got it down on his feet. I mean, to me, that was the biggest takeaway. I mean, K-State ran the football that day.
And it felt like every single high leverage down was a perfect play call a perfect execution. And it wasn't like they were living in like the 3rd and 10. I mean, it's the K-State offense. Typically, it's, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, but even you back it up, it was 2nd and 29, and you rip off a 26-yard run. It was super timely offense by this K-State the entire game. Again, 6 for 6 on 3rd down on the first 2 drives.
Well, and let me add to that real quick because, and I'm sure you'll get to some numbers here, but you mentioned Colin Klein and just an inexperienced starting quarterback for sure because he took over that year previously in the Texas game. That Texas game was late in the year when he became the starting quarterback, but he showed in the Miami game. He was crazy advanced for 2 things that were just so key in that game: poise and patience. And without that, without a quarterback with his inexperience and that level of the game, which the second half was crazy, especially with Miami making the comeback, that when you had a quarterback so under control like Colin Klein, that was obviously major in K-State winning that game, especially since the secondary started to stink after a while. But anyway, you go ahead. I don't want to take talking points.
By all means.
Continue with your reaction, please.
Very nearly on that second drive still, a backwards pass for K-State, and they reviewed it. It would have been an 80-yard scoop and score touchdown for Miami. Instead, they reviewed it, calls upheld. It was towing that line of it was very close to being a backwards pass. I think whatever it was called on the field probably was going to be what it stood as. And then the next play after that, a 20-yard Tyler Lockett touchdown catch, his first of his collegiate career. So I watched that over the weekend. A really nice catch in traffic. He took a hit, perfect pass from Klein. We're talking, he threw it over the linebacker's head, in between the corners, in between the corner and then the safety that was ranging over. Could not have placed it any better. He couldn't have walked down the field and placed it any better.
So I believe, if I remember correctly, and I may get this wrong, but the first touchdown pass in the Big 12 championship game in 2003 against Oklahoma to, Brian Casey, I think it was the exact same play.
And it was to perfection. I think that might have also been a 3rd down. It also could have been 2nd. I don't remember at this point. For some of the struggles that Klein had through the air, did not show that at all in the beginning of this game. Started 7 of 9 for 100 yards and a touchdown on K-State's first 2 drives.
That was better than I thought.
It was
like for a start,
yes, it was really solid.
Was that like first quarter?
That was first 2 drives of the game for K-State, so probably first quarter, maybe a little bit of change. Really good.
Okay.
I wrote down Nigel Malone's name. I think I've done that in every game so far because again, everywhere. He nearly got another pick, or no, he did get a pick. He picked off Harris in the second quarter, right up the entire way. And again, every game I've watched from 2011, Malone has had his handprints on in one way.
It wasn't too bad.
Or another. Really good chance for K-State to get a stranglehold on this game and kind of just coast. There was a couple of chances in the second quarter where they could have. I mean, they got the pick was after they went up 14-3, and immediately they went. Klein went 0 for 3. And they took 17 seconds off of the clock, immediately punted it right back. And it was 14-3. It felt like for quite a while. Or if it wasn't 14-3, it was 21-10. And they had a chance to really take a stranglehold of the game and just never could quite do it. I can imagine that would have been pretty frustrating to watch as a K-State fan watching that live. Because you're like, can we please put them away before it gets tight? And it would. I mean, about as close as you can get. 4 straight penalties for K-State put them on their own goal line. I was getting mad 14 years after the fact. I was like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? It was like a hold, and then a false start, and then a delay of game, and then a false start. It was a circus show. And then, you mentioned it, it was the 2nd and 29 run on an option for Klein. Ripped it, and the spot was very generous. I watched it. I slowed it down about 3 or 4 times. They marked him about 3 yards farther than they probably should have because he rolled up on the knee, and then they just didn't catch it, and then he dove forward and got those extra 3 yards. I think, honestly, with the way that K-State was doing on 3rd downs, they probably would have gotten 3rd and 6 anyways. Don't know if it wouldn't have mattered. They would get to 3rd and 3, another option. They ran like 4 options in a row. I mean, they were just spamming that option on the Miami defense. 14-3 at half. Klein, my goodness, he took some hits. You know, he mentioned taking a hit on the dirt. He took hits on the turf, too, and they were not friendly at all. I mean, he got shaken up. It's insane how much of a competitor he was because there's a lot of those that are taking regular quarterbacks out of the game. He took some hits and some punishment from the Miami defense. I wrote down Arthur Brown was really good. just flying all over the field.
Playing against his former team. He was a Hurricane for 2 years.
So, I mean, that element of it going into it, and he's been amazing. He's stood out on all 3 of the games I've watched in 2011. His speed, his sideline-to-sideline speed is so insane to have for a linebacker who's that big, too. Just very instinctual players seem to always be in the right place at the right time, whether it's the run game or the passing game. Always making his presence felt in the middle of that defense. K-State, again, mentioned it, a lot of opportunities to finish this game way earlier than they did. There was a nice little pop pass to put themselves back in control of it, 21-10 after Miami got some rhythm going on offense. Big playmaking again at the right time.
But who scored that touchdown? Did you write it down?
I didn't write it down.
Travis Tannehill, a
Tannehill.
former employee of this radio station, K-State tight end. I think he was first team All Big 12, actually, in 2012. Great guy. Used to host on Wednesdays here on the show. Yep.
I did write down a Zach Nemechek sighting on the sideline after the Tannehill touchdown.
Probably babyface Zach Nemechek, because he would have been, maybe a redshirt freshman.
Yes, I noticed it. I saw the number, and I was like, I recognize that. So I wrote that down after the Tannehill touchdown reception, so I did have that down in here.
It's funny because you mentioned that. I think I still have a picture saved on my phone. I sent it to him last year. I think I did. Yeah, I think I sent it to him last year because I rewatched that game randomly. I was like, oh my God, there's Zach on the sideline, just baby face, no beard, short haircut. He looked 18 years old. Good for him to be on that road trip with Curry Sexton.
Yes. We'll fast forward a little bit, run a little bit short on time, and a lot of it is just play-by-play details.
Yeah, let's get to the end.
Miami drives right down the field. It was a terrible punt. It was a 20-yard punt. K-State punted at like the 20, and it was at the 50. It was a terrible punt. Gave Miami great field position, just down 4 with 4 minutes left. You're thinking, surely they're going to get this one done, especially because they were cruising on offense the last couple of possessions. Lamar Miller was having a field day, and they drove right down the field. They got down to the 2-yard line, 4 cracks at a touchdown, started with a drop on first down that very well could have been K-State would have had a good amount of time at this point. We're talking like 2 minutes-ish on the clock with a couple of timeouts, but with the way K-State offense was engineered, it would have been tough for them to drive back down. Not that it would have been impossible, but a touchdown obviously gives Miami the lead. A drop on first down, stood up at the 1-yard line on second down, another stuff on third down, and then
lost a yard, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Harris scrambles to his left, and it gets sandwiched. I don't even remember who it was who made Walker.
Trey Walker. The preacher, Trey Walker. Yes.
And was able to snare Harris down literally inches before the goal line. They call it a touchdown on the field. They review it pretty clearly. Not a touchdown, as his knee was down before he was able to extend that ball across the goal line.
So I'll wrap up on this. I found the audio. We have an archive of K-State highlights. I found the full clip with the exception of I cut out the ad read that Wyatt did during the timeout. So here is Wyatt Thompson, Stan Weber on that call 14 years ago on the goal line stand.
They're going to go. The clock's going to run. Yep. I formation set again here. 2 receivers will make it 3 to the left. Tight end and wing to the right. Ja'Cory Harris with an empty backfield in the gun. Rolls to the left. He wants to run, and he is near the goal line. Touchdown! They gave it to him. He just barely got there with 49 seconds to go, and K-State can't believe it.
Well, there's reviewing college football. He stuck the football out. The question is, was his knee down, and did he get the football extended? If he would have carried the football like a normal player, he would not have made it into the end zone. Bill Snyder's down at the 2-yard line.
Well, they'll look at this one. I don't know if he got there or not. I think they're going to rule him down with a knee.
His knee is down. Trey Walker has him. He's short of the goal line. Instant replay in college football is the right thing for this type of situation. You don't have to worry about, are these ACC officials? Are these Big 12 officials? The call happened really quickly over there as he tried to dive to the goal line. Miami fans, they saw it on the replay. They're heading to the exits. Kansas State.
Sideline just exploded when they saw it on the scoreboard.
Kansas State looked at a 3 wide receiver set. They spread things out. They went to the shotgun. The initial pass was not open, so he scrambled. Trey Walker took one misstep, but then came back out, made the tackle. Yeah, Ja'Cory Harris stuck the football over the goal line, but not before his right knee is down.
All right, we'll wrap it up there.
Shout out to John Hubert, by the way. 166 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, so obviously
150 of them in the second half.
That goal line stand was one of the greatest defensive moments in K-State history. I mean, that was
4 plays from the 2.
That was everything. Like, that changed our perspective on the 2011 season. I don't remember what K-State was picked preseason, but you go on the road and win to Miami. That was huge. Like, our confidence as a fan base in Snyder 2.0 and what this season could be, I think completely changed. It was at another level after that game. When I think back to this, I do believe this was like the last time we saw Bryce Brown on the field for K-State. He was the older brother of Arthur Brown, who played college ball at Tennessee prior. And then he transferred over. And I can't remember all the details about it. I think it was a girlfriend or something. Had some issues, girlfriend issues or something. He never just was locked in as a K-State football player. There was one pass to him, and he ran the wrong route. It was just messed up from the spot. And plus, John Hubert was just really good out of the gate that year. And after backing up Daniel Thomas, and that was his job after that. Well, he and old Robert Rose, I'm sure he got the ball a few times in that game as well. Yeah, I mean,
fun one.
Until the course of 2022 Big 12 championship game, that goal line stand, one of the biggest defensive moments in K-State football history. Any other takeaways before we wrap up the segment?
No, just a good game.
Well,
a good of a trio that I've watched so far in 2011.
Everybody remembers the goal line stand. Overall, as a game, it was a really good game.
It was a very, competitive the entire way, really.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show next. We do want to mention a Kansas City legend calling it a career. Plus, Ask Us Anything wraps up the show after a quick break after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Wildcat fans, I know I'm wearing the Heat jersey right now, but I bleed purple. Well, not really, it's red, but you kind of, figure of speech, you know what I mean? Welcome to Madness in Manhattan.
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
Get your passport, sunscreen, and week's vacation ready for an all-expense-paid trip to Cabo San Lucas, courtesy of U-Stop, Phillips 66, and the Friendship House. It's almost time to give away this once-in-a-lifetime trip to Cabo. If you're an instant finalist, make sure you stop into our office at 2414 Casement Road in Manhattan to fill out some additional paperwork before the giveaway. Then this Friday, we'll see you at Briggs Auto Lane. And make sure to show up between 3 and 4 to get checked in. The party starts at 4. You're one step closer to your chance to win this all-expense-paid trip to Cabo. Passport to Cabo, brought to you by U-Stop, Phillips 66. And the Friendship House.
Facing criminal charges? Don't go it alone, whether it's DUI, drug offenses, assault, or any other criminal matter. Adair Law has the experience and dedication to fight for you. With a compassionate team by your side, they'll be your voice both in the courtroom and out, working to secure the best possible outcome for your case. Don't let a mistake define your future. At Adair Law, protecting clients with compassion is what they do. Call 785-776-2000 to schedule your consultation.
Did you see the finish to Louisville, Oregon State in the College World Series? You have that on the TV? Dude, Louisville almost blew it.
Really?
They almost gave up a 3-run lead in the 9th. They gave up the bases loaded. Oregon State ties it up. They go to the bottom of the 9th, and Louisville walks it off.
Wow. What a game.
Yeah, crazy finish.
To save the season.
Arkansas, UCLA tonight, 6:30. Real quick, a Kansas City legend is going to call it a career, and we're talking about Dan Mears. He was the original and the only, as far as I understand, Casey Wolf.
Yep.
The mascot of the Kansas City Chiefs. The guy has been the mascot for 35 years. I heard somewhere that he was making like over $60,000 a year being the KC Wolf. He was the first NFL mascot to go into the Mascot Hall of Fame, which there's only like 20 mascots in the entire Hall of Fame but his career has officially come to an end. He announced his retirement today on National Mascot Day.
He is actually the uncle of one of my mom's coworkers. So that's my connection to KC Wolf.
Well, we got to get him on the show then.
There's a chance. I'll probably reach out to...
Sounds like you got some connections.
I do. I'll reach out my feelers and see if we can get him on the show at some point.
Well, always the personality of KC Wolf is always great. And we don't share people don't share their appreciation enough for what the mascots have to do to get the job done. I mean, especially if you're in a full body like Willie the Wildcat's great, but Willie has it easy compared to most mascots. It's an 85-degree day. You got the full body going. You could be a sweaty mess. I used to just wear the head like Willie in high school when I was the mascot for a few basketball games, and that was really hot. I mean, geez Louise, that thing does not breathe
It heats
at
up
all.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it would have been better if I was paid $61,000 a year, but great personality. Always loved whenever Chiefs would miss a field goal or the other team would make a field goal. Banging the head on the post.
On the sideline. Or
on the goal post.
Yes.
That was always great. And whenever like a game winner on a field goal would do the somersault into the field, I always liked that. Cool mascot. Casey Wolf is a cool mascot. Fits the personality, the look of the mascot.
And the only mascot in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I will say, like, whoever like found the people to be the mascots for the Pop-Tarts Bowl found the perfect
They've done some great jobs.
People. The 2 years they've done that, perfect mascots. Skyrocket is some of the greatest mascots now in sports for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. All right, with that, we got a couple of minutes left. Let's wrap it up with a few Q's, and hopefully have some A's for you here. Ask us anything.
All right.
Cole Dutchendorf.
You know, it was a little
people?
bit of drizzling rain today, and
sure.
I think that is absolutely perfect nap weather.
Sure.
So my question is, we'll start
I can
with
nap
here.
in any weather.
Are you a big nap guy? That was my first question.
You know, when I was doing the split shift here, I do the morning show and then do this show. I took a nap every day. Now that I've since stopped that, which has been now almost 4 years, I don't really take naps anymore. You know, I'm a real big I'll sleep when I'm dead guy. Probably not doing myself any favors. I mean, I gotta be real drowsy if I'm gonna take a nap anymore. Which, if I do, it's gonna be on the weekends. But yeah, I mean, am I a nap guy? Yes, absolutely. Do I take them very often? Not too often. No.
I was a big napper in college for like one semester, and I was like, all right, this is eating up too much time. I need to stop sleeping.
Well, here's the deal, though. There's two different nappers out there. Somebody that'll nap for 15 minutes or somebody that'll nap for 2.5 hours.
You know, typically I limited it, so it wasn't like egregious. I wasn't napping for, 2.5, 3 hours. I try to get like a 30 to 45 minute nap in and call it good.
I am easily a 2.5 hour napper.
Sleep in your zonk.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Wake up and you don't know where you are type of nap.
Or like sometimes the nap is so good you think it's the next day or you lose track of what day it is. Mm-hmm. Those are the good ones.
They are, 100%.
Also, some of the best dreams.
Yeah, nap dreams go crazy.
Like, I have some of those dreams where you kind of predict the future. That's when I have my naps, man. That's when I do my best fortune telling. All right, we got to wrap it up. 2 hours tomorrow for the boys. And, Cole, me, go Cats.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients